All right. Lastly, we're going to go into the last section now, and this is what we call getting what you want without a fight. All right? Getting what you want without a fight. And this is probably one of those areas that I enjoy teaching the most, because now we're going to talk about why do people do what they do? Why is that person acting the way that they act? All right? And so that's what's going to be important here. This basically says there's different ways that you can kind of deal with things. All right? And from here, this is as you move this way, it's more focused on yourself, the other person, and this is you. So if you have low me and low you, you're going to avoid conflict, right? I don't want to deal with you, and I don't want to deal with me. If I don't want to deal with me, and I don't want to deal with you, then what I want to do? I'm going to avoid issues. All right? If I don't want to deal with you, but I am going to make sure I get what I want, then I want to what? I'm going to compete with you. I'm going to outgun you. I'm going to get that job so you can't, make you look bad. Because that's all about me, but there's no consideration of the other person. But if I'm all about myself, the other person, and I'm not about me, fine, go ahead, do what you want. I'm accommodating. But these people tend to be resentful and bitter over time, because they're not really speaking out for themselves. You see, fine, go ahead. Do what you want, Mallory. Daniel, do what you need to do. I don't care. No, I'm accommodating. I'm not going to make waves. It's actually called placating and appeasing. All right? This is when you're focused more on others, but you don't focus on yourself. But the highest order, then, is when you're able to accomplish both, and that's collaboration. That's collaboration. You cannot deny who you are, and you must honor who you are, even at work, because you're still a person. And if there's anything I'm going to point out in this section right here, is basically this. You are a person, and you do not check your humanity at the door. And I always say to leaders, just because a person's acting a certain way, does it matter to you why they do what they do? No. You're a manager. It does to me. Because I understand you're still a human. And you have thoughts and feelings. And it comes down to one word, care. Do I care? And if I care, I lead in a very different way. All right? And that's what we're going to kind of take a look at. Compromising, we would argue, is not the greatest, because compromising could affect any one of these. This is the highest order. We collaborate together where I win and you win. All right? So we're going to kind of take a journey into that right now. So if you'll switch that for me. I said earlier that we talk about respect is how you treat someone. How you treat someone. And now I want to give you an understanding of how to work with people and understand why they're doing what they're doing with respect. All right? So let's assume you got an employee that got a bad attitude. They're spewing out, mumbling. The negative energy is affecting other people around them. Because the thing about negative energy is it will affect others around you. You always know it in the room because you can feel it in the room, right? You know when a room is negative, you can feel the negativity, you can also feel the positivity, all right? There's energy in the room. And so if you got a person with negative energy, you can move. We're going to kind of incorporate things from earlier sessions today. You can go to controlling power. You need to stop it and suck it up and get busy. Change your attitude now. Fine. You smile. You leave and you cop an attitude the rest of the day in the bathroom. And when you leave, if it really solved anything, the answer is no. All right? I mean, you could do those things. But I want to give you a different prism, one that I work from. And I think if you catch this, you'll see how this relates not just to work, but also to all of life. All right? And this is, in my way, a respectful way to redirect people and encourage people and support people who are acting in such a way. Because the key is, why are they acting that way? It's not that they're just acting that way. I get that. But where is it coming from? It's not happening in a vacuum. Where is it coming from? All right? So we're going to answer the question, why do they do that? So I want to give you a little conversation right now. And I'm going to move over here and get you to think about something for a minute. Humans, mental health recognizes there's three aspects to our humanity. All right? Humans have a spiritual side. We have a soul, which people refer to the intellectual part of us and our emotional part of us. And you have a physical body. All right? You have a physical body. Food, air, water, and shelter. All three of these have needs. You have spiritual needs. People who are alcoholics, drug addicts, go into a 12-step program. 12-step programs are spiritual programs, all right, to help them develop themselves so they can get out of their addictions, all right? Addictions are best treated through spiritually based programs. We're not talking like Christianity or any other religion. We're talking spirituality here, all right? Have you ever needed information? You needed information and you couldn't find it, right? And the more you looked for it, the more frustrated you became. You been there? And all of a sudden you found what you were looking for, and the moment you found it, it's like your body goes, ah. Here's why. Because whenever a need is not met, you're going to feel a measure of pain. All right? Whenever a need is not met, you feel a measure of pain. But once the need is satisfied, your brain will release chemicals that move you into a feeling of pleasure, satisfaction of the need. All right? Emotional needs and physical needs. So we're going to talk about needs for just a minute in this idea. So I'm going to give you a physical understanding of the power of meeting needs first. Okay, we're understanding needs. So let's say that a person hasn't eaten in 5 days. All right? That would be a need for appetite. It's a biologically based need. So the need for appetite hasn't been met in 5 days. It's a biologically based need. It has to be met, because the thing about needs are all needs must be met and all needs will be met. This is very important. You will get your needs met. So a person hasn't had food, and the need for appetite met in 5 days. When your needs are not met, you move into pain. All pain produces symptomology. So if you haven't eaten in 5 days, your brain starts sending a signal to the body, and it's called a hunger pain, and you will have the symptoms of hunger: dehydration, cramping, all those kinds of things. What your brain is saying is, unmet need for appetite, gotta have food, right? So let's say that a person hasn't eaten in 5 days. There's a unmet biologically based need for appetite. Let's say that I give them a bunch of hamburgers in order to satisfy the need for appetite. Here's the question: will the hamburgers satisfy the unmet need for appetite? And the answer is yes, it will. Here is the 1,000-foot view. As I begin to eat the hamburgers, when the brain senses the food going in, the brain goes, "Ah, you're eating something." And in that moment, the brain releases a neurochemical in the brain. It's called dopamine. Dopamine. Dopamine is a neurochemical, when released, produces a pleasurable sensation. So once you eat, your brain releases dopamine. You actually have a mood shift in the pleasure. Stomach fills up. You're no longer hungry. Got it? You moved out of pain into what? Pleasure. So here's a phrase if you're taking notes. Here it is. The phrase is this: pain pursues pleasure. Your brain is wired to avoid pain and pursue pleasure every single time. If you have a headache, you go do something. Take Tylenol, take aspirin, you rub your head. All of that is your attempt to avoid the headache pain and move away from that pain into pleasure, the absence. Make sense? Your body is designed to avoid pain and pursue pleasure. Now, let's say you haven't eaten in 5 days, and instead of hamburgers, I give you 4 boxes of rat poison to satisfy the need for appetite. All right? So here's the question. Shelley, if you eat the 4 boxes of rat poison to satisfy the unmet need for appetite, the question is, would it work? And the answer is yes. 1,000-foot view. As she begins to eat the rat poison to satisfy the unmet biologically based need for appetite, once the brain senses the rat poison going in, the brain goes, "Ah, you're eating something," and the brain releases the what? The dopamine gets released either way. She actually has a mood shift into pleasure. She eats the 4 boxes. Her stomach fills up. She's no longer hungry. She moved out of pain into what? Pleasure, satisfaction, the need. It will work. The problem is, this time her brain comes back to her and goes, "Hey, Shelley, what did you eat?" Because whatever you ate, though it satisfied my need for appetite, whatever you did eat is now causing me more pain. What does pain do? It pursues pleasure. So you go back to your source of pleasure and eat more rat poison. Here's why. Because bad love is still better than negative attention, still better than no attention. You see, the reason that employee is acting that way may not be because it's not in a vacuum. They don't appreciate it. They don't feel respected by you. And that's why they're acting that. But you don't care that they don't feel respected. You just care they're acting that way. So you tell them to shut up and stop it. And they will. But now they feel more disrespected. And that's a pain. That pain will not stay in there. It will act itself out some way because pain always pursues pleasure. Even if that means I quit and you just lost a valuable employee. Because see, it's more pleasurable to leave this painful environment than it is to stay in it. Because the brain will always drive you out of pain into pleasure. This is what addictions are about. This is why people turn to addictions. You see, if I'm in pain and I don't know what to do with the pain, so I turn to alcohol, I turn to drugs, I turn to eating, whatever it is you turn to. Once you turn to those things, your brain's releasing dopamine. But here's the problem with dopamine. Wherever your dopamine is released, you're actually training your brain to go back to that. Did you get that? You train your brain to go back to it. Here's the two things about dopamine is dopamine has no morals or values to it. It's only released around pleasurable things. And secondly, it creates focus. So if what I do is when I'm angry or hurt, I take a lunch break and I go and drink at the bar. Now I feel better, right? I've also training my brain that whenever I'm in pain, go drink alcohol. Because the dopamine is driving back to it. Because this is where I get my pleasure. And what I'm doing is creating an addiction. Here's a married example of what I'm talking about. I want Luella to listen to me because if she listened to me, I'd feel respected. But she doesn't listen to me, so I feel disrespected. Well, so I start talking louder. Why would I talk louder? Here's why. Because my brain thinks talking louder will get me respect. Get that? And listen to how I word this. The anticipation that talking louder will get me respect is more pleasurable than admitting that she doesn't respect me, which is more what? Painful. So I just keep talking louder. It's rat poison. It won't get you what you want. But it's your brain trying to satisfy and get a need met. All right, so let me give you a list of needs here that have been identified as biologically based, okay? These are biologically based needs. They are in you when you're born. They will be with you till the day you die. You all need comfort. And I've given definitions here. When I get you this PowerPoint, you'll have it. You need comfort. Comfort means to soothe, console, or reassure. All right? Acceptance is favorable reception, receiving another person willingly and unconditionally. We need affection, a tender feeling towards another. Expressing care and closeness through physical touch. We need appreciation, an expression of gratitude, expressing thanks and praise for what another person has accomplished or completed. We need approval. This is formal permission or sanction. You notice I put these in the acronym of CARES up here. C, A to the fifth power, because there's 5 A words, R, E, and the 2 S words. All right? So you can remember it. We need attention, awareness, taking thought of another, entering to another person's world. We need respect, the state of being regarded or esteemed, valuing and regarding another person, highly, treating another person with goodwill. That's why I define respect as how you treat people. We need encouragement, the act of giving hope and support to someone. We need security, well-founded confidence. See, a marriage that is not sure that it's going to make it, that's an insecure relationship. Kids who grew up in broken homes aren't sure there's stability there. That's insecurity. Insecurity moves you into pain. Pain pursues what? Pleasure. So these kids go act it out, their pain. And then lastly, support, to uphold or by aid or assistance, coming alongside and gently helping a person with a problem or a struggle. All of these needs are hardwired into you when you're born and they're with you to the day you die. These needs must be met and they will be met, just like food, air, water, and shelter. But these also needs do one other thing. When these needs are met, they bond you to people. This is what bonding and attachment is all about. It's about meeting needs. Get that? And so this is why you see in the workplace, the number one place for adultery today is in the workplace. Why? Couples aren't bonding at home. So if I'm not bonding well at home, we're in pain. Pain pursues what? Pleasure. So I'm at the water fountain, and there's Sally one day, and her and I are talking to each other, and we start opening up to each other. She's telling me how bad her marriage is. I'm telling her about her marriages, and we're both listening to each other. So we're both giving each other attention, and we're comforting each other. In that moment, we're connecting neurochemically. You can feel it. It's pleasurable. Problem is, it's also rat poison for me. Because though it may feel good, it also creates some problems in my life. Does that make sense? And we know that these needs are with you because anybody know the age group that has the highest suicide rate than any other age group? It's the elderly, 60 and above. It's not teenagers, it's the elderly. But it makes sense. They're put away in nursing homes. Who comforts them? Where do they get attention? Where do they get acceptance? They don't. And for many of them, they don't think they matter. Because see, when these needs met, you feel loved, you feel valued. When they're not met, you don't feel loved, you feel devalued. And some of them just kill themselves off. Here's why. The brain figures out, remember pain pursues what? Pleasure. The brain figures out it's more pleasurable to be dead than to stay in the pain and alive. Pain always pursues pleasure. It happens in the workplace too. You see, I was doing a training for a John Deere company. One guy says to me, "Oh, I get this. This is all touchy-feely stuff. That's what this is. This is all touchy-feely." He says, "We're engineers in this room." I said, "Excuse me?" He said, "We're engineers. You need to know that." Well, I'm respectful because I believe in what I teach. And I said, "Can I tell you what I'm thinking?" Asking permission. He said, "Sure." I said, "Do you want to be do you want to be an engineer who has a heart, or do you want to be an engineer who's heartless?" And the room was quiet. He goes, "Oh, I get it." Yeah. See, he wants to use the fact he's an engineer is proof that he doesn't have to treat people respectfully and care about how they are emotionally. I go, you can be an engineer. I want you to be an engineer. You don't want me to be one. How's that bridge look? It feels good to me. And it'll collapse. An engineer knows whether it's good, right? They don't want to go by feelings. You want them. But that doesn't write off their ability to be respectful and kind either. That makes sense? And so these needs must be met, and they will be, and they're playing themselves out every single day in the workplace. So when you have an employee who's doing something and acting out a certain way, you've got to care. Let me give you an example. Give me the next one real quick. I'll use an intimate relationship example. I'll give you a married example real quick. Let's say there's a woman nagging, all right? Men hate nagging, all right? And so what happens is when women are nagging, men are complaining. Now, both are problematic, all right? So there's Luella, she's nagging, and I'm complaining. But what I don't realize is this. The reason she's nagging is because underneath the nagging is the pain from an unmet need for attention from me. And if I was wise enough to figure this out, if I spent less time complaining about her nagging and spent more time meeting her need, the nagging would go away. Meet the need. Had one guy goes, "I don't need appreciation." I go, "At all? I don't need any of that. I definitely don't need appreciation in the workplace." And so I said, with respect, "Can I tell you what I'm thinking?" He said, "Sure." "Well, I'd like to know who your supervisor is." He said, "What for?" "Well, if what you're saying is true, that you don't need appreciation, then we need to stop all your raises, all your bonuses, and everything else. Go to work, get your job done, appreciate yourself." You went, "Oh, I get it. Yeah, you want appreciation too, you see, because it's a part of our humanity." I'm saying all that to say this. When people are in pain, they pursue what? Pleasure. Give me my next slide for me. All right, pain pursues pleasure. So the more the people are in pain, this is how they're going to be. Guarded, unsettled, distrusting, addiction set in. They tend to be more sick. All right, sad, selfish. They're less productive and agitated because they're in pain. Pain from other needs, emotional needs. But if we meet needs, we connect to their where? Heart. Remember we said managers are only about information. Leaders also concern how you feel. They think about how you feel. They connect to your heart. They inspire you. People who are in pleasure, they're open and sharing. They're close. They're peaceful. They're trusting. They're caring. They're giving. And they're more productive. I say all that to say this. As we think about how to develop people, if we think about how to understand teams and develop them, you can't write off their humanity. They're people. and know that person, yeah, the person's acting in a certain way, but rather than just discipline, say, hey, come in mom for a minute. What's going on? It's like my brother Don did. What's going on? It's like I do. What's this about? Well, I don't feel appreciated. What is it we do that make, well, I did this, this, and this, and you did that, that, and that meant to you that we don't appreciate you? Yes. Well, I'm sorry I sent that message. That takes courage on my part. I'm not giving in to them. I'm sorry I sent that message. That's not the message I want to send. You see? After that exchange, he feels valued and appreciated because I took time to listen, right? And he walks out of there. We're connected, and I got a better employee again. As opposed to, well, I don't care what you think I did. Get back out there and do your work and get rid of the attitude, which I've just convinced him that he was right about me. That make sense? And so all of this is to say, when you develop people, don't deny their humanity. Pain pursues pleasure every single time. And people act or they act, it's not out of a vacuum. It's motivated by something. It's motivated by pain. Pain of unmet needs.